Welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and I'm actually a Subaru owner myself. I've owned a Crosstrek, and then I've had an Outback Wilderness for the last few years, and my wife and I are probably going to buy a brand new Forester. But there's actually a lot of information that's come out just in the last couple weeks about the pros and the cons of the brand new 6th generation 2025 Forester. So there's a few things that I need to share with you guys to help you decide quickly if this might be the vehicle that you want to buy brand new, or if in fact you will be content by the beginnings of the 6th generation. There's a lot that has changed between the generations, and there's a lot that I don't necessarily like, making this my own decision a very difficult one to make. So we're going to talk about some of those reasons, and if you like this video, if you find anything helpful in it or anything insightful, please consider liking this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Which one are you going to buy? And subscribe if you haven't already. With that said, let's dive right into this video, and huge thanks to Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow one of the very last 2024 Foresters that you can buy. First of all, I want to mention a few of the big pros and a couple of the cons of this 5th generation. It's well sorted out. This is the 5th year of this generation, so most of the issues, most of them have been sorted out. And overall, it's a really good vehicle. It's about 15 feet long. The windows are vertically as tall as anything that I have ever driven, so you have literally just about the best visibility of any crossover on the market, while having about 30 cubic feet of cargo capacity when the rear seats are up. Oh, I forgot the Wilderness doesn't have the power liftgate like the Limited I just got out of. So you have about 30 cubic feet of room back here, and when you drop the seats, you actually have closer to 75. So you can actually car camp back here, and it doesn't have a power liftgate unless you go with the highest trim levels. But it's a practical vehicle. It's not overly tall. The roof rails can hold 700 pounds. And there really is a lot to like about this, especially in the safety department. It's a top safety pick, plus you have all of those standard safety features, and MSRP is 10 grand less than the average new car at only 37,000. And then a dealership like TF Subaru will give you a huge discount below MSRP anyways if you buy from them. But it only has the 3rd gen eyesight system, which is the dual cameras. There they are, if you can see my fingers right there. Has a huge moonroof. Does have a front-facing camera if it's the Wilderness one like this, tow hooks, LED lights, and extremely bright LED projector headlights. So overall, the Forester, especially the Wilderness, is a really good trim level. There's a lot of nice features. Even looking inside, you know, a mid $30,000 SUV, you have really nice soft touch door panels, door cards, heated leather, waterproof seats, basically. My backpack's having a good time. Check out the moonroof, and it's not even open completely with the sunshade. And overall, it's really ergonomically pleasing. There's just a good layout to this vehicle. When you sit inside of it, you have physical buttons, physical knobs for HVAC. You can easily turn that on and off. You have some storage, and you have a reasonably sized screen that on its own has a pretty good backup camera, lots of safety features, and you're really not missing a lot when you go with the basic 2024 Forester, if that's what you're into. But this generation does have one little problem, and that is underneath the engine cover, underneath the upper intake manifold runners, there's an electronic controlled thermostat. And those have actually been known to fail. So Subaru has recently issued a bulletin giving you, I think it's 120 months, which is 10 years, or 150,000 miles of warranty coverage. So if your thermostat fails, and it fails either open or closed, that means your engine's either going to overheat and you need to stop driving immediately and have it flatbed towed to the dealership to fix it, or it's going to fail open, and the vehicle with all the fluid, all the coolant going through, it's not going to warm up well enough. And that's not nearly as bad of a problem as your engine overheating, because heat causes metal parts to fail. But either way, it's inconvenient, and it's a shame that Subaru decided to go with this fancier thermostat, which has a tendency to fail. I don't think we can quite see it without removing things, and then it's still kind of hidden under the intake runners. But it's a shame. So one of the new things about the 2025 Forester is Subaru reversed that, and they went back to a mechanical system, which basically has almost no chance of failing, which I think was the right move. But for the 2025 Forester, they also slightly reworked the software and the parameters of this engine. So peak torque comes on below 4,000 RPM versus about 4,400 RPM. So it's going to feel just a tiny bit more punchy in town. Keep in mind, you still don't even have 180 pound-feet of torque. So it's only going to feel slightly more punchy, basically the equivalent, I would say, of if you're downshifted one gear when you're getting on the throttle. It's going to give you a little bit more power, but it's not going to be drastically more aggressive. But if you're new to Subarus, and especially the Forester in general, notice how convenient everything is under the hood. You have a fuse box all of your reservoirs, your oil filter, your fill, your coolant, your serpentine belt, your alternator, your dipstick. Everything's really easy to get to, very serviceable, minus the spark plugs, which are very low on the Boxer design. But most items on here are going to be easy to work on. It's just a pain that if the thermostat fails and it's out of warranty past 10 years or 150,000 miles on this specific generation, you could be paying well over $1,000 to have that fixed. And you might be out of a vehicle for just a little while. But the good news is, if you do decide to buy one of these 5th gen Foresters, it still has a full warranty. You can also get an extended warranty if you're concerned about the CVT or the powertrain, which honestly, the powertrain in these do seem to be very well sorted out, very solid, and I almost never hear about failures with this platform. Seriously, guys, I love GM trucks, I love Ford trucks, but I hear about way more transmission and engine failures on some of the American trucks than I do about the Japanese crossovers. Subaru has really done a good job with this, and even these are still built in Japan. But unfortunately, the 2025s are not. They're going to be built in Indiana because Indiana is no longer going to be building the legacy sedan after next year. So they have room to build the Forester. And honestly, guys, I'd rather things be built in America than maybe some other countries. But I wouldn't prefer that over Japan because it seems like the Japanese built vehicles, like the 5th gen Toyota 4Runner, like my current 2023 Miata, they're just built better. They seem to be more reliable and they seem to have fewer quality control issues than sometimes the American-made cars are. But with that said, my Outback Wilderness, I've had it over 2.5 years. It was built in Indiana. It basically hasn't had a single issue. So although it might just be a peace of mind thing, maybe only for me, maybe I'm the weird one who wants vehicles to be built in Japan based off of what I've seen. That could just be my perspective, so I don't want to taint your opinion on that. And even driving the 2024, it handles really well on pavement, and in just a moment we'll be off-road, and I'll share even more impressions of that. But I've driven a couple dozen of the Foresters in 2023 and 2024, and honestly, I think they do a really good job. They handle really well. They're not sharp like a sports car. There's a little bit of slack before it really starts diving in, but the safety features work really well. It's practical. Full-size adults easily fit in the back seat. This is one of the most comfortable vehicles I've driven, between good visibility, knowing that you're safe if you were to get into an accident. It has a lot of systems to help you avoid accidents. But even just sitting in it, whether you have the premium seats, which are soft cloth, or you have the StarTex like this Wilderness, or you have leather in the Limited or the Touring, all the Forester seats are really comfortable, and I don't imagine that the new generation will be any less than that, which I hope to have all the trim levels filmed for full legit reviews of the new Forester, hopefully within a month and a half from when I'm filming this, because as soon as they hit the lot, I'm going to be getting some reviews for you guys, because I'm sure a lot of you are interested. And if you are trying to buy one of these right now, you literally don't have weeks to wait. There are a few 2024s that can still show up at dealerships within the next few weeks. Otherwise, if you want one, either you're going to have to travel or you're going to have to pay a couple $100 extra, I would imagine, to have a dealership near you ship one of these to you. Twin Falls Subaru has really good connections, so they can ship anywhere in the country. If you do want to consider one of these, you know, just have them shipped to you if you find one on their website you like. But now that we are off-road, the Forester, even on these Geolandar all-terrain tires, handles really well. But I have driven a lot of different Subarus on gravel roads like this, on roads like that where little rock chucks like to, I think we missed it on camera, but where they like to cross, kind of like a chicken crossing the road. And it feels really well sorted out. But the new one of the pros on the new one is the steering rack actually comes from the current generation WRX. So it's going to be an even sportier feel, a little bit more connected, because with all the power electronic steering, you really don't feel much through the wheel. I don't feel any vibrations that don't also make it into the dashboard and the seats. So it's kind of misleading what you can feel through the front wheels. But this thing feels so at home driving on roads like this. If I push the brakes pretty good, the Geolandar stop well, and check out this all-wheel drive system. It's constant, it's all the time. It doesn't have to kick in reactionary like a Toyota or a CR-V. Watch this. No wheel spin. It just gets up right to speed, basically exactly the same that it would if we were on cement or, you know, a solid structural floor, not the rocks and gravel. So of course I could turn off traction control, do the same test, but I honestly don't think that it's gonna spin. The system knows what it's doing. Having owned Subarus for like almost 5 years now, I've had such a good time driving them. In the winter, driving to my real job, going down the interstates and the highways, sometimes early enough in the morning that the snowplows aren't out. And I have literally driven by so many dozens of vehicles on the road, on their side, on their roof, basically crazy accidents that have happened. And I've never slid off the road in one of my Subarus. I always have good tires. I always drive safely, but seriously, those winter days remind me why I drive a Subaru year round, even when, you know, it's 80 degrees, sunny, sunshine, not even a speck of rain or a cloud in sight, because Subaru's all-wheel drive system, the safety that comes with it, the value is there. It's really good. Mazdas are great, Toyotas and Hondas are great, but Honda and Toyota has really upped their price for what you get. So if you want a comparable ride to this that has worse all-wheel drive system, you're also gonna have to pay 2 or 3 grand more. And so for that reason, I don't drive Hondas or Toyotas anymore. And I used to drive Toyota trucks. This has honestly been such a good experience. And even though some people think that the 2025s look like the Subaru Forester or the Subaru Forester, whatever, you know, a little silly name you want to call it, because it does look like a Ford SUV, I think it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be a well sorted out vehicle. Sure, it's no longer built in Japan, but hey, there's one reliability component that's improved. The steering has improved. The stiffness and the interior noise has improved, which I don't know what that's going to feel like in person, those percent upgrades that they've been claimed. But the regular one, the 2024, if this is what you want, if you don't want to have to deal with the 11.6-inch screen and you want physical dials for HVAC, get this. But you only have a few weeks. After that point, you're either going to have to find a leftover carryover model, or you're going to have to find one on the used market. And honestly, whatever you do, if you're driving a Forester and it hasn't been abused, I think you're going to be in good shape, because you're deciding between one of the best vehicles in general. This really feels like an old school crossover SUV. Good visibility, straightforward, easy design. There's not insane electronics and technology, and most of it's related to safety features. And these are proven. They do a really good job on and off-road, and this feels like nothing. This feels like you could crawl up some little rocks and, you know, really push this a little bit. And heck, there are just some crazy videos of Subarus climbing stuff at Moab. So whatever you want to do with the Forester, it's just going to make life easy, and I think it's overall a really good vehicle. With all that said, am I personally, and my wife and I, are we leaning towards a 2024 or 2025? Well, just like I was sharing with you guys, if we decide on a 24, we only have a couple weeks to make up our mind and get one ordered in the color that we want, which isn't a lot of time. And I usually don't recommend you know, get rushed into decisions. Or do you wait for the 25, hope it's the one you want, and hope that even though it's not built in Japan, but it has the better improved engine accessory reliability, that you're going to be happier with it? Well, although I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer, there might be a better answer for you. So you guys need to make up your mind. You got to make a decision if you care. I'm not trying to rush you guys. I don't work for a dealership. I don't personally care. I just want you guys to be informed, and more videos like this sharing thoughts and opinions. I hope it's helpful for you guys. That's the only reason I do this. It's fun to drive cars, and it's fun to talk about cars. And the Forester is a good car. I wouldn't consider one compared to everything else if it wasn't. So I hope that means something to you guys. Anyways, guys, that is my thoughts and opinions, because I am potentially in the market to buy a Forester myself. So I wanted to share with you guys the biggest bullet points that I'm considering when deciding, do I buy one of these, or do we maybe buy the new one in a month or two? Or do we wait a year for the hybrid configuration to come out, which I hope is more like Toyota's hybrid system rather than the Crosstrek hybrid, because I reviewed one of those a long time ago and I was not very impressed with that, because it was like 8 grand more than the regular Crosstrek. It had less cargo capacity from the huge battery, and it only got a few mpg better while having basically the same performance as the 2-liter. So ultimately, I was not at all impressed with that. And Subaru, if you do a hybrid system, make it more like Toyota's. Make it more powerful than the base naturally aspirated engine. Give it 10 miles per gallon more, and don't charge more than 3 grand for that system, because at the end of the day, it's just a very small battery pack, and it's an extra little electric motor. I have one of those in my dryer. I have one of those in some other electronic devices at home. They're not that expensive, and by now, I think technology, like usual, gets cheaper as we move along. But anyways, guys, I'm just ranting and rambling, so like this video, comment your thoughts and opinions below. I appreciate it. I wish you the best, and see you next time.